Domain class and GORM part 1. So here we are going to learn what is domain class and GORM, and then we are going to see how we can perform CRUD-based operations against the domain class. We have already seen the scaffolding operations, and we'll talk about the concept of dynamic finders and the validations and error messages and custom OL mapping, and also events and automatic time stamping. Okay, so what is domain class and GORM? Domain class represents a model of MVC pattern, and basically a model represents things to be manipulated. Okay, and domain objects hold state through properties. And domain class has corresponding table, so domain object has a corresponding row. So domain class represents the table, and domain object instance of that class represents a row of the table. And the properties of domain class have matching columns. What is GORM? GORM stands for Grails Object Relational Mapping. It provides a mapping between domain objects and database tables. So you, as a developer, deal with mostly Groovy objects, and then those Groovy objects, typically domain objects, are going to be converted into the table and columns and rows. Okay, and that is done by GORM. So GORM represents OL mapper in this case. So accessing, saving, creating, and updating operations in your Grails applications are performed through GORM. And under the hood, GORM is using Hibernate as a default. However, other database technologies such as MongoDB, CouchDB, and Redis NoSQL type of database are also supported. And we're going to actually use MongoDB later on in the part 3 as underlying database. It leverages the dynamic nature of Groovy programming language such as dynamic typing and meta programming and closure, and also convention over configuration. For example, the name of the domain class is going to be the name of the table that gets generated, for example. And of course, you can customize the name of the table if you want to. But as a default, the name of the domain class will be the name of the table. Okay, so these are the steps for creating domain class. So step number 1 is obviously creating a domain class, and we have done that before in our previous the hands-on lab exercises. Basically, you say Grails, create domain class, and name of the domain class with a package structure, in this case org.jpassion.student. And then step number 2, you are going to add properties to the domain class. And you can also add validation constraints. So we haven't seen the validation constraints yet. Okay, so we are going to add some validation constraints in the hands-on lab exercises of this presentation. You can also add relationships to other domain classes, and that is something we are going to cover in our next presentation and lab exercises. You can also do some customization. For example, you can specify custom table name, custom column names, custom caching strategy, locking, fetching, and things like that. You can also add event handling. So let's move forward. Create, read, update, and delete operations. First of all, create, read, update, and delete. So Grails transparently adds implicit ID property to your domain class when you, which you can use for retrieval. So this is a way that you are going to create the object and save. So here we created a student object, and then we call save. And when you call save, next time the flush or commit is performed, is going to add that domain object into a row in a table. Read, so you can in fact actually call 3 different operations. You can call get, read, and load. Okay, and we're going to take a look at the differences among these three different types of read in the following slide. Update. First you get, and then you can just change the state of that property. In this case, I'm changing the name property of the student object with Bob, and then I save. So that's update. Delete is basically calling a delete method. Okay, so these methods like a save and get, read, load, and delete, these are the methods that are from the domain class. Okay, so as you are going to see in a few minutes, your domain class is going to be extending, in a sense, the domain class. Okay, so three schemes of, and those that the built-in domain class, and that domain class actually provides all the methods we have seen, like a save, get, read, update, and delete. Not update, but the delete and load and read and get. Okay, three schemes of read operation. So let's start with the load. Loads is actually returns a proxy instance. Okay. Now get and read. So the difference between the two is that get, automatic dirty detection by Hibernate, is done. So automatic dirty detection is performed by Hibernate as a default. Okay. So next time you flush and commit, the newly changed object will be saved into the table. Okay. Now read is actually similar to get. However, automatic dirty detection is not set as a default. Okay. In order to save the change, you have to call save method. Okay. Otherwise, when the flush or commit is done next time, it's not going to be saving the change. So you might want to use read method instead of the get method if you want to make sure you don't accidentally persist unintended change. Okay, so in this case, if you want to save the change, you have to call save first. Okay, because automatic dirty detection is disabled in this case. Okay. There is a tool that comes with a Grails package called the Grails console, and this is like a Groovy console, as we have seen yesterday. Okay, basically you can perform some operations in this Grails console. Okay, so in this case, in this example, I'm creating new student and I save. Okay. We can actually get we can call the get method and load method, and we can delete and we can change and things like that. So this is actually a tool that you can use to do some kind of, the simple testing. So we're going to actually use this Grails console to perform several CRUD-based operations. You can also display built-in database through the database console. So basically it is the H2DB manager that comes with the Grails. So in order to display this database console, basically you say localhost 8080 and name of the application, for example like Hello World, and then you say DB console, and then you see all the tables on the left, and you can actually perform select operation to see the table. Okay, so we're going to do this one in our lab exercise as well. Bootstrapping. So Grails application has what is called the bootstrap.groovy file on the config directory. Okay, this bootstrap, the Groovy file, has init method and destroy method. Okay, so init method you can include code for initialization, and destroy method obviously you want to include code for cleaning things up. Okay, so this could be used for the setting up the test data. Okay, so this is something that we are going to actually use in our lab exercise. Okay. Okay, so we are going to do exercise 1 and 2. Exercise 1 is doing CRUD-based operations using Grails console, and exercise 2 is we are going to actually study scaffolding code. In our previous Grails basics, we did some scaffolding, but we haven't really looked into the code yet, right? So that's what we are going to do in exercise 2. Okay, so let's do exercise. Oops, I should actually close this guy. So we are going to create we're going to create the Grails project at the command line, or you can actually create from Eclipse as well. Okay. So we are going to create Grails and create app and student app like this. And then we are going to create the domain class. So we have to go student app directory, and then we are going to say Grails create domain class com.jpassion.com student. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this command. Okay, so student, and I'm going to create domain class. And we are going to add properties to the student domain class, basically add name and age. Looks like I have already created student project. Okay, so I'm gonna overwrite them. Okay, all right. So, and so here I'm going to create domain. I'm going to change this domain class. Okay, and student name age. Okay. Save the change. All right, now we are going to actually do Grails console. So this is the, so we're going to run Grails console. And we are going to, basically there are three different ways that you can create oh, actually that's, yeah, so in this case, basically we create the first student using new student and then passing named arguments and the same thing. So we create two student. Okay. So this is, we actually create the two statement here. We can create a student and then call save right here. Okay. So basically, we are going to create two students and then we are going to list those students. Okay. So So we're going to actually see Grails console. So Grails console is something like this. So we are going to copy this code. Okay, here we go. So here we are going to copy this code. And run it. So you can see this is a result. Okay, so I have a student. This is a type of the student, and this is an ID. This is a type of the student and the ID. Okay, so obviously this is not really that much, meaningful data. Well, it is actually the data, but I like to actually see actually the names of the student rather than just the ID. So that's something we can actually make a change. Okay, so what we want to do is for domain class, we want to change we are going to override toString method. Okay, so every Groovy object, for that matter, every Java object has a toString method, right? So here, whenever they actually display the student, it's actually using toString method, built-in toString method, which is just display the type and ID. So instead, what we want to do is we want to provide a custom toString method in which we display ID and then the name. Okay, so we are going to change the domain class. Okay, so for student, and we are going to add this toString method here. And save the change. Okay, and then we are going to execute the same code. Okay, so we're going to just refresh this guy. Well, we are executing again. Now you see the data is more meaningful to us, and it displays the ID and the name of the student and ID and name of the student. Okay, so that's better. Now we are going to perform CRUD-based operations using Grails console. So here we are going to get the first student. So here we are going to get the first student, and then we are going to display the name, and it should be the Dennis Kim, right? Okay. So we run this code, and it displays the name of the first student, which is the Dennis Kim. And we are going to update. So in this case, we are going to change the name of the student. So we first of all get the first student, which is Dennis Kim, and we change the name, and then we save, and then we list. Okay, so in that case, it should display the Sang Shin as the name of the first student. Okay, so that is what was resulted, which is good. And we are going to delete this time the first students. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this guy. We are going to delete Sang Shin. Okay, and now there is only one student left, which is John. Okay, and yeah, that's it. And then you can close the Grails console. So it's basically lets you perform the CRUD-based operations using Grails console. Okay. All right, now the second exercise is study the CRUD-based operations through scaffolding. So here we are going to generate all the code, okay? Because we want to actually study the code. So this is static scaffolding in which we are basically generating all code, okay? So we go over here, and we are going to generate all the code, the actions in the controller, as well as all the views, okay? All right, so now we are going to take a look at the student controller Groovy code, okay? And there are a few methods that are relevant to the domain class. For example, you see the save, okay? Yeah, so it looks like, yeah, I'm going to just say all save. Okay, so if you take a look at the code that are generated, so if you take a look at the controller, and here, and JPassion is a student controller. Okay, so this is the code. So the save is a method that gets invoked when you save it. Okay, here basically student object instance that was created will be passed as an argument, and we basically call save. Okay, and then flush true. Yeah, this is the if you think about it, yeah, this is an argument, right? Okay, of the save method. Okay, so the parenthesis is omitted here. Okay, let's see, and then update. We basically change it and then save. Okay, and then delete. Okay, so we are basically looking into this CRUD-based operations code a bit. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we are going to now run the application. Okay, so let's run the application. So Grails run app. Okay, and then what we are going to do is we are going to take a look at the DB console. So obviously we should be able to take a look at the student app. Okay, so once this is up, we can take a look at the localhost 80 student app, and we actually should see student controller, okay, as one of the controllers, and we should be able to perform some CRUD-based operations. Of course, why it doesn't like it? Finished generation domain class in student running. Oh, the port number is actually being used already. Okay, so looks like I am actually using it. So I'm gonna just kill this guy. Okay. Okay, so now I should be able to run it because port number is actually being taken this way. So we're going to run the application, and we are going to add a couple of the students. Okay, and then we are going to take a look at the database tables by going to DB console. Okay. And so you connect. Yeah, so let me actually demonstrate that. Okay, once my application is up and running. Okay, so it's up and running. So I'm gonna actually go to here, student app. And let's create the couple of students. So I'm going to click student controller. Okay, so looks like I have already some students. Yeah, so this is I have actually, I'm actually using existing code, and that's actually basically Bootstrap. So I have a Bootstrap config. Okay, I should actually start it from, oh, this is not it. Yeah, so this is, I think, overwritten. But anyway, I think I have actually created the several, the table is still there, so that's the reason I'm actually seeing this 5. So the students, so, in your case, you probably want to actually create a couple of students by, just creating like this, a new student, and I will just say age 5 and name whatever, okay, and create students. So create a couple of students, okay, like this. And if you take a look at the student list, you will have the 2 or 3 students. And now what we want to do is we want to go to this DB console. So click this DB console, and then you are connecting to your H2 built-in database server. So username is SA and password is null. So just click connect. Okay. Now you see the student table. Okay. So right click it, or not right click it, you just, you can take a look at the fields, of course, and so you select and then you run, okay? So when you select it, then it will just add the select stuff from student, then you just run, and you are actually seeing the table here, okay? So that's basically exercise, oops, exercise 2. And okay, so Bootstrap. So this is the one that I have already done that. So basically, you are going to change the bootstrap.groovy file, in which you are going to inside the init, basically we are adding this logic. Okay, so for development environment, yeah, for any environment, yeah. So this is for development. For development environment, I want to add these 5 students. Okay, and for production, I don't want to add anything. Okay, so this is only applicable when you're running in development environment. Okay, so that's the reason I'm seeing that those 5 students. Okay, because I've already done that. In this case, you have to restart the server because this bootstrap config is actually executed. The init method or init closure gets executed only once when the application is up and running. Okay, so you have to restart the application, and then you can actually see the students. Okay, and then you can also take a look at the DB console, and that's what you're going to see. Okay, all right. So I'm going to give you guys about 15 minutes to do this exercise 1 and 2. Okay. Next topic is dynamic finders. So getting domain instances. So this is a way that you can get the list of domain objects. So you can call get book.list, and then it will return all the members of the books. And you can specify the offset and max 20. So you're starting from a 10th the item, so that is going to be well, actually it's offset 10, so that means 11th item, and maximum that you want to receive is 20. You can, based on sort, and order can be ascending or descending. You can retrieve the objects based on the primary key or keys. So you can say get, or you can say get all. Okay. And this is going to be collection object, and this is going to be one item. Dynamic finder looks like a static method invocation, but the methods themselves do not exist in any form at the code level. So this method gets created during runtime using Groovy's missing method scheme. So yesterday we learned Groovy's missing methods scheme in our Groovy meta programming presentation, right? So this dynamic finders gets created during runtime through this missing method. So let's say we have a domain class that has three properties like a name, birthday, and age. And then you can call dynamic method, for example, find by name. So you can actually use the names. You can actually use the names of the properties. Find by name, find all by name like, find all by birthday between, find all by birthday greater than, find by name like, or you can actually have a multiple, or birthday less than something. Okay. So in this case, some date can be actually specified on this oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the first one is actually for the name, and the second one is actually the date. So in this case, we have two arguments. Okay. All right. So these methods do not, these methods are not present. They are not existent in student domain class. However, these finder methods get created during runtime through method missing scheme. Okay, so comparators used in the dynamic finders. Okay, so you can use inList, meaning whether item is in the list of given values, less than or less than equals, greater than equals, like, and similar to like except the case insensitive. Okay, and not equal and between, not null, is not null, and is null. So these are the things that you can specify as part of your dynamic finder name. Okay, so you can also do pagination and sorting. So you can specify find all by name, like I like to find all names of the students, which has SA in the beginning, and then after that anything is fine. I want to actually receive maximum 3 starting from offset 2 and sort based on age, and the order is going to be descending order. Okay. All right, so let's try exercise 3. Exercise 3 is dynamic finders. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what we're going to do is, yeah, so here we are going to actually also use the Grails console. Okay. So I'm going to go to student and the Grails console. And we like to list all the students. It should list 5 students, right? Okay. Oh, by the way, yeah, you can actually call bootstrap init method directly like this. So we created the bootstrap object, and then we call the init method. After all, bootstrap itself is actually a class, right? So we are basically creating bootstrap object and call init. Okay. So this is one way that this one. And then we can actually list, and we should actually see 5 students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then we can perform dynamic finder method. So we are going to perform find by name, Sang Shin. So there should be one result. So here result. And this one is find all by name like. So anybody that start with a Sang space S should be returned. So in this case, it should return 2 people. Okay, so let's actually try. Let's try the bootstrap init first. Okay. Okay, so we are going to run it. Okay, so 5. And yeah, so the sanction, we're going to try this guy. And should return 2 people. Okay. And this is find all by name like or age less than 12. So in this case, there should be 3 people. Okay. And pagination. So here we are going to find all by age less than 100, and then we are going to just specify maximum number of records. Yeah, so it returns 2, and offset starting from the first one, age, and and then order descending is based on age. Yeah, so we should actually see two of these, two people. Oh, wait a minute. This is actually why we're actually seeing just two. Offset. It's possible in my case I have actually other data. Okay, so that's a possibility. In your case, it's probably just to see like two. Okay, all right. Okay, so that is the dynamic finders. So I'll give you guys about 7 minutes to try exercise 3. Okay. Next topic is validation. So the way that you can specify validation for your domain properties is using the static constraints, and basically you are creating a closure object. Okay, and inside the closure, these are all basically a method. Login method, password method, email method, and age method, and passing arguments. Okay. So this is a way that Grails provides unified and convenient way to define validation constraints in the domain class. So in this case, I want the login size has to be, whatever characters that is being typed has to be the size between 5 to 15 inclusive and has to be unique. Okay, so if you try to create a new login that is already existent, then that's a validation error. Password, same thing. It doesn't have to be unique, but the size has to be between 5 and 15 characters. Email equal true. That means it has to conform to the email syntax. Meaning you should have at least @ in between, and then I should have a dot between JPassion.com kind of structure. Blank false. That means it cannot be blank, so it has to be filled by the user. Same thing with age. Age has to be age has to be minimum 18, okay, inclusive. Okay, so it should be okay as long as it's 18 and higher. And nullable false, so it cannot be, it cannot be null value. So these are the set of built-in constraints you can use: blank true, nullable true, credit card true. So basically, it will, mandate some kind of structure based on typical credit card numbers. And display false, hide the fields in create.gsp and edit.gsp. Email true, password true. So when you say password true, as a default, it will not display the characters. So it will just use a star. Okay. Enlist, meaning the value has to be in one of the values specified in the array. Matches, minimum, maximum, size, range, scale, unique, true, URL true, not equal, foo, and validator. You can even actually have some kind of evaluation like this. Okay, the expression. Okay, so this could be, this could be used for customized validator logic. Okay, so we're going to actually do that exercise. Okay, so validation basics. So you can call validate method on any instance at any time. So, if you create the brand new user object and, with some kind of parameters, it could be named argument, or it could be something that is coming from the user, and you can call validate method. And if it is valid, then you can perform certain thing. If it is not valid, then you can actually do something about it. In this case, we are just printing all the errors relevant to that particular object. Okay. So every domain object has errors property. So you can actually call errors property here. And then basically, it's a collection object. Then we are going to call all errors, and then we call each method of it. Okay. And again, this is the closure object being passed as an argument, right? Okay. You can think of validation is done in two phases. The first phase is data binding phase. In this case, the type conversion, it includes it basically is a type conversion phase. So if the user enters some values, and if they actually, first of all, what happens is that the type conversion will happen, okay? So everything that gets entered by the user is a string, right? The string has to be converted into data types in your domain properties, right? So if there is, in fact, the type conversion error, then you're going to actually see that in the first phase, okay? And the second phase is that domain constraints checking phase. So that is basically, what you specify in your domain constraints will be checked in the second phase. So let's take a look at the data binding phase first. So the first phase is the data binding, which occurs when you bind request parameters to the domain instance. So in this case, a type conversion will occur. And if there is in fact an error, then that gets detected in this phase. So if you expect integer value, but what user has entered is a character value, then the type conversion error will occur, and that gets detected here. So when you create a brand new student object from the params, at this point, type conversion, if there is a type conversion error, and that gets detected here, and you can check whether student has any errors, and then you can do whatever you want. Okay. The second phase is the domain constraint checking phase. So when you actually, when you try to validate or save, that's the time that the second phase validation check occurs. Okay. So when you try to save, and if the values is not really correct based on constraint, then this could be happening here. I mean, this first phase and second phase probably doesn't, it's probably not that much important to you. It's all happening behind the scene for you. So, as a developer, all I have to check is basically whether there is in fact errors or not, okay, when I perform save. Okay, so let's do exercise 4. So exercise 4 is validation. So here we are going to create a user domain class. So I'm going to actually from now on using Eclipse. Okay, so I am going to create new and domain class. What is domain class? And it's going to be com JPassion user. Okay, and finish. And we are going to modify user Groovy to specify the set of properties, login, password, email, and age, and we also specify the constraints. Okay, so these are the same constraints we have seen in the presentation. Okay, so let's go to user.groovy here, and I'm going to just copy this code. Okay, so now I'm going to generate the all scaffolding code. So I'm going to, in this case, right click and new, and here generate controller and views. Okay, so in this case it's going to be com JPassion and user, and finish. So it should generate all the code. And since we have added a new domain class, we have to restart. The other server. Okay. All right. So let me see whether we have any server up and running. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like it is up and running. So we have to restart. And let's restart. And we're going to perform the validation. So we are going to try to create a brand new user, and this time we are going to specify invalid values. So here, create a new user, and let's try to, if you try to create without adding anything, without filling anything, then it certainly will have the error message will be displayed. Okay, so please fill out this field. And for email, if I actually enter incorrect, the values like this, it might actually say, please enter an email address. Okay, all right, so let's try this. So I'm going to create the student, the user. Okay. And let's try to create new user. And now if I try to create without entering anything, then I got this error message. Okay, so we can try login and Sang and password Sang. And yeah, so if I try to, so that the size has to be after, if I try this one, oh, so I think it will have the this kind of, yeah. So let's try Sang Shin here and age 34, something like that. Create. Now you can say that this login and password has to be the size between 5 and 15. So that's why it actually says that. So I'm gonna say like this, and then let's see whether this email thing is actually being. So if I try to create like this, okay, yeah. So it says please include @ in the email address. So it's actually missing @ sign like that. Okay, so now if I create, it should work. Okay, so user list, the user has been created successfully. So these are the validation we have done, and the custom validation. Yeah, so now what we want to do is we want to have a field called the even number, and this even number field has to, of course, contains only even number. We don't want odd number to be the value of this even number. So what we are going to do is we are going to user here, and let's add integer, and we're going to say even number. Okay, and the constraint is that even number, and so this this is a validator, and this logic has to be true. Okay, so when I actually do this, okay, modulo 2, the remainder has to be 0, otherwise it's not a valid number. Okay, so let's have this logic, and then let's save the change. Okay, and then in this case we have to regenerate the code because we changed the domain class. Okay, so we have to change the code again. So we are going to say new and generate controller and views. Again, is going to be com JPassion.user. Okay, and it will say whether I want to overwrite the code or something like that. Yeah, so so the file already exists. Overwrite, yes, I'm gonna overwrite everything. So I say A. Okay, then it will overwrite everything. Okay, why that's a compiler. Okay, so let me see whether this one works. So let's stop it. Because we changed the domain class, we are going to rerun. Run as, run out, run app. And this time we are going to enter the even number 21, and that should return this validation error message. Okay, it doesn't pass the custom validator. Okay, so if you enter odd even number, then that should work fine. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys 10 minutes to do this exercise. In the meantime, I'm gonna actually wait until this is up and running, and let me actually demonstrate that too. Okay, here they go. Student app, and we are going to create user and new user. Oh, why it doesn't show even number? Didn't I? This is saved. Next topic is error messages. So the code themselves are dictated by convention. So if the constraint was violated, so if your validation constraint was violated, Grails will by convention look for a message code in the form of this: the name of the class, name of the property, and constraint code. Okay, so example is like this. In the case of blank constraint, this would be user.login blank. So so this is the name of the class, this is the name of the property, this is a constraint code. So you would need a message such as the following in your messages.properties file. For example, user.login.blank. Your login name must be, this is the message that you want to display. And this one is for unique. So the important thing is that error messages are actually structured based on class name, field, and the constraint code. Okay. In the case we also have embedded variable. Okay, so position 2 must be unique. So in this case, it's a positional parameters. So let's take a look at the exercise 5. So here what we want to do is we want to modify the messages.properties file on the Grails app I18N, and there is a message properties file. Let's take a look at the student app and I18N here, and that is in fact a bunch of localized version, but the one that we want to change is the messages.properties file, this guy. And there is a default, so basically we want to change the value of default invalid size message. So any size mismatch message will be using this guy, default invalid size message. Okay, so basically what we want to do is default invalid size mismatch here. Okay, so basically value 2 does not fall within blah blah blah. So that's the message you typically see. So here we're gonna just add another custom message. We're just changing custom message, default message changed. So invalid size mismatch, and here, and just for the sake of so I'm gonna say my name as well here, Sang Shin. Okay, and you save the change. And let's see if you want to change something else. Okay, now we are going to trigger. So let's run the application, and let's try the size mismatch. Let's actually call size mismatch thing. Okay, so run as run app. And so here, for the login field, we'll just try 3 characters, which is between 5 and 15. And then the message is supposed to display the custom message that you have changed. Okay. Same deal for custom error message. In this case, user login invalid size. Okay. So here, you want to just add full does not fall with, so basically we are just adding these guys. Okay. Then user login unique. So you're just adding full here. Okay. Then when you try to create the brand new user, and if the value does not default message change, value ABC does not fall. Oh, okay. So this is a message from the previous. So you click Sang Shin 1 and create. And create the same, so this, we want to actually create the brand new user with the same name, and that the login name should be unique, right? So that should actually cause, so now you're trying to create a new user and providing the same login name, and then you're going to see this custom message. Okay, so let's see whether those things work. So let's actually try to I'm gonna just do the first one. Okay, so we're gonna go to user, and let's try to create a new user, and login name is just 2 characters, and the same, this one, email J, some valid email address, age, 34, even number 2, something like that, and try to create. Now so you can see the custom message, default message changed, and Sang Shin, that's the message I changed to, right? Okay, so that's what you're going to see. Same thing for the user login, the invalid size as well as invalid unique. So the second exercise, you are actually trying to the duplicate user, and you are going to see that message. Okay, so you are going to see full and must be unique. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to try this exercise. Next topic is custom OR mapping. So in general, you don't have to actually do customization of OR mapping because, whatever default value should suffice most needs. But there are some times you want to use a different table name and column names, different caching strategy, inheritance strategy, custom database identity, composite primary keys, and database indices, and optimistic locking, versioning. The fetching strategy could be either and lazy, custom cascade behavior. So, a lot of customization could be possible in terms of OR mapping. So, this is a time that you can specify these things in your domain class. Okay. So one thing that we're going to do here is that we're going to actually use custom table name and custom column names. So for person class, instead of actually using persons table, we want to use the name of the table to be people. Okay, and the first name. In terms of the first name field, we like to have the database column to be first underscore name instead of first name. Okay, so basically we are customizing the names of the table and the name of a column, first column in this case. All right, so let me just explain exercise 7, and then I'm going to actually finish the presentation as well. So let's actually take a look at the exercise 7. So here we are going to create the brand new domain class called the person. And here we are going to change the name of the table to people. The name of the columns is going to be first name and last name with a dash. The underscore in between. Okay. So, when we create it, and then if you take a look at the DB console, then we can see, in fact, the name of the table is people, and name of the columns are first name and last name. So that is the customization you've done. Okay. All right, I'm going to actually finish up the last topic, which is events. So you can actually intercept all this, the database operations, and then you can do whatever you want. Okay, so before insert, before update, before delete, and before validate. So those are the hooks that you can actually insert your business logic. Whatever logic you want before insert, before update, before delete, and before validate. And same thing with the after. And onload is executed when an object is loaded from the database. Okay, so here we are going to change the person, domain class, and we have a date created and date last updated. So whenever a new person gets inserted into the table, we are going to set the date to the date created. And same thing with the before update. Okay, so we're going to actually set the date and the last updated like this. Okay, now let's take a look at the exercise 8. So that's basically, we are going to add before insert and before after insert. Okay, and we are going to actually restart the server, and whenever we are adding a new user, you can see that before insert and after insert, the methods are actually being executed. Okay. Actually, one thing I should mention was automatic time stepping. So let me actually finish this up, and then I'm gonna let you guys have a lap time. Automatic time stamping. So what we have done in previous exercise is that we were setting this before insert and before update to actually set the new date. Okay, so by merely defining last updated and date created property will be automatically updated for you by GORM. Okay, so when the GORM actually finds date created and last updated properties like this, the Grails actually does it for you, meaning GORM does these things for you. Okay. All right, so that is the end of the presentation. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to finish up the exercise of the 7 and 8. And let's have some break. Okay, so I need some break. So let's have a 10 minutes break. So we'll be back at 3 o'clock. Okay. Since we did not have any break in the morning, we'll actually finish up at 4:20. Okay.